Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to the Falcoholic Lives Falcons vs. Panthers Week 6 post-game show. I am your host, Kevin Knight, at Falcoholic Kevin, joined by my co-host. He is Alan Strk. Alan, welcome to the program. How are you doing this fine evening? Hold on. I know they're not getting your audio. I'm not sure what's going on. Hold on one second, guys. I know it's not coming in. Hold on. Hold that thought for 1 second. Yeah, okay. All right. Hold on. Okay, now try. Okay, we're good.
Sound good.
We're good. Yes, please continue. Please continue.
All right. Oh, and we got Adnan coming. All right,
yeah.
now we got party. All right, sweet. But yeah, for the first time over a month, not a lot of anger, not a lot of sweating. It's a very comfortable evening, and we could talk about the power of running the football, the greatness of running the football, and of course some nice pass plays in there. You know, Zach Robinson was dialing up some cool designs. Defense, I'm sure we'll have our moments of frustration, but overall, it's just after 5 years of mostly these games not existing, this game was a complete mismatch, and it turned out to be a mismatch at the end. So overall, Adnan, I know you're a big stats guy. Is this the first time since 2017 the Falcons are 2 games over 500?
No, they were 2 games over 500 last year when they started 2-0.
Oh, geez, I should know. I forgot that team would start out 2-0. Oh,
yeah, they beat the Packers after beating the Panthers, and it was like, yeah, you know what? It wasn't actually that impressive.
Oh, man. Dang.
Yeah, that they fell back down. I will say, though, this 2 games above 500 is much different than last year's 2 games above 500. Last year, they just came crouching right back down to earth.
Yeah, last time was not it felt fraudulent, to be honest, last year. I'm glad that it's less fraudulent this year, to be clear. But yeah, welcome in, guys. Thank you for joining us. Apologize if there's any hiccups. We're trying to run this thing on hotel internet, and it's it's a little spotty, but we're doing the best we can here. Thank you for your patience tonight. Yeah, guys, thank you for joining us. Falcons defeat the Panthers. Starts out pretty sweaty. Through the third quarter, I felt it was a little sweaty, honestly. And then they kind of pulled away in the fourth quarter, which is kind of what we were expecting, basically, at the end of the day. So it was good to see that, finally. But yeah, ultimately, a little harder than it needed to be. But at the same time, they got it done. They got their first double-digit win of the year. And, hey, that's all we really need to worry about. They beat the Panthers. They got that big dub. Ultimately, that's the important thing. Yeah, we're going to get into it. Yeah, go ahead.
If you do want a stat, though, this is the first time they've won 3 in a row since 2019, however.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And that 4-0 is like a fraudulent-ass 4-0. That's when they started off, like, when they won the last 4 games of the year to save Dan Quinn's job to finish 7-0.
That's right. Yeah, it's you're right. I'd forgotten about that season. I think I had just like completely erased that from my mind. So yeah, that's a good point. But guys, thank you again for joining us. Real quick, let me bring you guys a word from our sponsors before I forget. Thank you for all the donations and stuff. I'll try to keep up with those best as we can tonight. Real quick, word from our sponsor, BetOnline. Folks, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for everything sports betting. If you bet on this one, if you bet on the spread, hey, would have been a good game to bet on the Falcons. Falcons definitely covered the spread, that 6-point spread. I understand why they put it there, but it kind of felt to me like it was a little bit baity, the kind of being like, oh, the Falcons haven't won by more than a score, so we're gonna make the spread low, and then it felt like it was gonna be a 1-score game for honestly the vast majority of this game, but thankfully Falcons make that not a reality. Get this win comfortable at the very end. But no matter what you want to bet on, guys, every stat, every matchup breakdown, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games over at BetOnline. They've got the largest catalog of odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA, all the way to political props now if you want to get absolutely crazy. Don't recommend that, but they do have it available if that's your thing. And when the game's over, you can head on over to BetOnline's new online casino. They've got blackjack, poker. They've got over 150 different slots game to check out. So head on to that website today, betonline.ag, to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Just make sure when you sign up to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to get access to the latest promotions. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right. Well, yeah, I was honestly I was sweating this
Were you
one
really
out.
nervous? You
I
really
was
were?
after they scored at like before the half, I was like, oh my God. I was
Interesting.
nervous a little bit. But yeah, I mean by the end of the third quarter I was feeling better. But it was I was a little sweaty there for a while. I mean, I guess I'm just scarred by this team. I'm like it's like
Okay,
an
that's
abusive relationship or something.
understandable.
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah.
bit nervous before the Terrell pick, and just because, okay, you were up by 8, they couldn't really separate from them because they kicked those pair of field goals when, one of them should have definitely been a touch. They probably both should have been touchdowns
Yeah.
on those drives. One was the Mooney walk-in that Kirk Cousins kind of like underthrew, and the other was the Drake London play where it was a great play by the defender there. You can tip your cap. But I was nervous because the Panthers, I think, realized that they can just run all over us. And Chuba Hubbard just like got going. And I don't know why more teams don't just run over the Falcons. Like the run defense just isn't good.
Yeah.
And teams just insist on throwing the ball when the team's strength is obviously the secondary. Like I don't know. Maybe it's just a lack of patience by offensive coordinators or what, but yeah, I mean, the Falcons have been getting away with it because I don't know why Carolina just opted to get away from Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah. Didn't make a lot of sense there for sure. Alan, what do you think about how this one turned out?
I think it's just Dave Canales being more of, he's a quarterback's coach, so I think he just wanted to push the ball downfield, and fair, that 2-minute drive was executed pretty well, and they started getting really confident in the third quarter. Like they were running some trick plays. That double screen, I thought it was really nice to execute, but like Nate Landman thankfully was in the position to land the hit. But they were just like Deontay Johnson, they were just getting openings underneath and in their intermediate areas of the field. And Deontay Johnson definitely had his wins on AJ Terrell. So I just think, look, Dave Canales is such a forward-thinking pass-first guy. I think that's the reason. But you look at they spent over $100 million on their interior line with Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt, and you saw they're limited, but those guys know how to run block. And they were handling on Yamada, they were handling Harrison. And I don't want to front this because this team just won double digits. But if we're looking at obviously why this game was close, it's just Carolina, they were run the ball really well, and they were just finding openings in Atlanta's zone. It's just weird that on a two-minute situation, you look at the Panthers personnel, besides Deontay Johnson, who you really think in that receiving corps is going to win against man coverage? It's a little disappointing that Raheem Morris and Jimmy Lake, they're just let's believe in our corners here. So that zone was so soft on the last 2 minutes. And
It was.
See, we want Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton could find those openings, and you saw it. Fantastic touchdown throw down and half.
I think it still would have worked had Lorenzo Carter just finished his sack.
Yeah, that's true.
Lorenzo Carter just straight up missing a sack. All right, I get it if Kyler Murray gets out of your grasp, if Lamar Jackson gets out of your grasp, but I mean Andy Dalton's 100 years old, and he's never really been known for his quickness or his legs, and to not be able to finish the sack there. It ended up costing the Falcons 4 points at the very least, and maybe even more because maybe the Panthers are forced into a long field goal. But yeah, that touchdown right before the half comes directly after Carter just can't finish it. Carter's had a really rough year.
He has
been not good this year.
We've had some Falcons edge defenders in the past that have looked kind of useless on the field. Tyson Jackson, Eddie, how do you say his name?
Ogundeji. Yeah.
We've seen some edge rushers at a time, or edge defenders where they're just not making any impact on the field. I think Lorenzo Carr's falling into that category.
Yeah. It's just inexcusable. I don't understand because he's never played this poorly in his career. I wouldn't say he was a good edge rusher last year for the Falcons, but he was a solid rotational guy. So the fact that he's a net negative out there is kind of shocking to me, especially considering going back to the 3-4, which is really his bread and butter. I don't really get it, but not good. They can't really they started the game with James Smith-Williams at edge. I was like, oh, okay, they figured it out. They can't play Carter anymore. And then it's they're going to Carter in key situations. It's man, you can't rely on him. He's not trustworthy. He doesn't finish. He's not playing the run well. He's not giving you really anything at all. So you just can't do it. I'd rather see D'Angelo Malone. Honestly.
They clearly don't trust. Yeah, they don't trust Ebiketie on early downs. I think he's just a designated pass rusher at this point. So.
And it's not just the one play with Carter. I think Evan had a nice tweet about it today. A very informative tweet. I know PFF isn't really gospel, and it's not the end all be all, but Carter's PFF grade coming into today was a 39.4, which is
The
genuinely
worst.
abysmal.
The worst of
And
any edge rusher in the NFL by far, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Vic Beasley.
I think Vic Beasley was better.
Yeah, Bob Posado, like in terms of the running game, like obviously this Carolina front was overmatched, but did anything stand out from the offensive line? Or dude, I thought it was like the Charlie Warner show. Charlie Warner earned like half his contract today with that performance. It was just
I can't believe
bulldozer for it.
it's like we haven't seen Charlie Warner since week 1. It feels like they just decided they weren't going to play Warner and they were just going to ask Pitts to block all the time. And it's like I never understood that, but yeah, I mean I liked it. Like they came out, they ran more gap stuff, they ran more inside zone with Bijan. It was working well. Obviously Algier had a great day too. So like I liked the run game diversification. I liked using Charlie Warner more. I mean, I think the offensive line as a whole had a great. I mean, like some of those holes those running backs had to run through. I mean, that was massive holes. Like, oh, I haven't seen this whole season. Like, that's great to see that. So that that's lovely. Love to see stuff like it's just. I always felt like the last couple weeks, whenever we saw a hole that big, it's like Algier just happened to be the back, and it was like, oh, great for him. Finally, this week we saw, Bijan get some of those same opportunities, and I'm glad. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like we don't really need to argue about it. It's like both guys are great, and it's like this is the perfect game to have two running backs like that, where you can split the carries. Like you don't need to give Bijan 25 carries and wear him down. You can just let Algier take some of the load, and it's the ideal thunder and lightning sort of approach. And yeah, it was great to see the run game get going, because that was, I think, the biggest thing. We were like, the offense kind of had answered the questions about the passing game. Like we'd seen the passing game absolutely come to life last week. Honestly, I think they leaned on the passing game a little too much early in this game. The Panthers seemed to be kind of waiting for it. Like they were like sort of expecting the Falcons to throw more, and no, the Falcons, they did come out throwing, adjusted to be more run heavy, and it worked out well for them. So happy to see that.
It is nice seeing this team, finally like fully leaning into that identity of being a run first team, because that's what this personnel is. I know you paid Kirk Cousins all that money. I know you spent those high draft picks on Pitts and Drake London, and good game, solid game from both of them. Drake London with another touchdown. I think he's matched his career high in touchdowns in the season already this year with 4. But the personnel, the offensive line is built to run the ball. They are much stronger run blockers and pass protectors. You invested the pick in Bijan. You brought in Charlie Warner, who is, an excellent blocking tight end. You have Tyler Algier. You have a really good, dynamic duo in running backs. And yeah, that does mean you have to like fully get away from the pass. But, look at a team like the Detroit Lions. That's a team I would say is definitely a run first team. And, they do a great job of diversifying and mixing in some passes. And yeah, the run game today, the only thing that I didn't like about the run game, the last 2 kneel downs by Kirk Cousins got them below 200 rushing yards as a team. So that was, that would have been a nice mark to have. But yeah, it's semantics at the end of the day.
I wonder if they had a point to prove, like, in terms of offensive line, because think about the last game against Tampa, it was like 63 dropbacks, and they had to have less than 20 rushing attempts just because of the game flow. Today it was just like, all right, they're going to become more balanced, and it gets exhausting. Like, imagine 63 dropbacks, especially for an immobile quarterback like Cousins. Yeah. Like, people are giving the offensive line heat for allowing 4 sacks. I'm like, that many dropbacks, sacks are gonna come with it, especially against a top Bulls like defense. And today, I don't think Cousins got touched.
No, it was like he on it. Like I was surprised. Like early on, he looked a little shaky. Like I think his decision making on some of those passes, like I don't know why he kept going after JC Horn. It was like, oh, Drake's matched up with JC Horn. Let's do it. Oh, Ray's matched up with JC Horn. Let's do it. It's like, no, maybe don't throw to the Panthers one good defensive player. Like maybe don't throw at him. That would be my recommendation. Ultimately, obviously it works out, but yeah, that was a little interesting. But yeah, the offensive line did their job. I mean, I think we got to give like Ryan Newsel his flowers. I mean, he's been a downgrade in the run game compared to Drew Dahlman, but in terms of pass pro, I mean, I don't think there's been a drop off, honestly, in pass pro. I mean, I think obviously the run game is impacted. Like, I don't want to downplay that. That is a big part of what Drew Dahlman brings, obviously. But Newsel being able to step in and fill in for like multiple games now, at like an average starting level. Big props to Newsel for that performance.
And I really think Bergeron's coming along. Ever since the rough opening day, that Philly game did sign to it where it's just now he's such a difference maker in the run game. Like that first touch here on, he took a second level defender, just threw him to the ground like he was not even there. And the combo blocks, when they run duo with him, he's really coming along. Because I really think his rookie year, he was in some tough spots, but I was a little underwhelmed by his rookie year. But of course, he had some tough matches. But this year, you invest a second round pick, and we know second round picks with Terry Fontenot haven't been all that great. So the fact that he's really developing into that solidified starter, especially given that Matthews is aging a bit, I think it's huge going forward. So I know some people think he might become a tackle, but look, if he could be a left guard, commit to it.
Yeah, I mean, if he's good, that's all that matters. Yeah, I mean, I could understand it because it's easier, like, especially if this team is picking towards the end of the first round, and especially if they're having to get an edge rusher, which, I mean, that looks like it's going to be the case. Like, they're going to have to draft an edge rusher that you can't draft a tackle. Like, the easiest thing might be to take a day 2 guard, and then move Bergeron to tackle, because I mean, obviously that's what he did in college. But we'll have to see. We're a long way from draft takes. Thankfully, we don't have to entertain draft
I love how you're itching
right
for
now.
draft talk right now. Somehow you're itching.
I'm always thinking of the draft, but
I do think before Penix starts, they will want an upgrade at right tackle as well, as someone who's a better pass protector than Caleb McGarry.
Yeah.
So there's some holes that this team is going to need to they're going to really have to hit on some draft picks over the next couple of years. Like, and I don't just mean, first rounder. I mean, like, you will, to make up for some of these day 2 misses, you're really going to have to get some real hits on days 2 and 3 the next couple of years.
Yeah.
But, that's in the future. Right now, the team is 4-2. We can focus on the good. They've, won 3 games in a row. Something I really liked seeing, only 5 penalties today, only 45 yards in penalty yardage. Half the number of penalties as the Panthers. I don't remember a huge maybe there was only one like holding penalty. It was on Bergeron, which was the only
that was
penalty.
weak, I thought. Yeah.
I thought it was Lindstrom, but then
it was Lindstrom.
Fell. Yeah.
I thought that was weak. Yeah.
No, I think Sanchez was saying it was going to be Lindstrom, but they called it on Bergeron.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, because I was looking at Lindstrom. I was like, what? I don't see anything there. So,
but that's like the one penalty where I would say it really sort of derailed a drive, which is a huge, it's a huge plus given the last couple of games, especially that Saints game where it felt like, there was another penalty which was really like hurting them on offense almost every other drive. So, I'm really happy to see, the extra discipline and that part of the game is getting better and better as well.
Yeah. Well, real quick, let me get to some of these donations because I know a lot of people have donated. Thank you guys so much. We do appreciate that. We got Rise Up RXNs. Thank you so much for your donation, $5. Appreciate that. It says, pass rush, who needs it? Would still like it, though. Rise up regardless. Yeah, strong agree there. We could really use it.
Ebiketie saved it for the last play.
Yeah, he did. And, like, honestly, Judon was getting pressure. He was just getting held. Like, at least they called one holding on him. But, like, I was like, man, he's getting mugged out there. So, I'm glad they at least called it. Yeah.
I think when they were near the end zone, and I think there were 2 players who held him, like, took him down. And I was just, like, screaming at the TV, like, how do you not see this?
Yeah, they were just not Judon is like, I feel like Judon's actually playing better than it looks because he's just getting held all the time. But that's the NFL sometimes. That's what happens. But
also, I mentioned we did see some vintage great Jared moments. Probably more as a run defender, but we did see Rick Grady in the backfield quite a bit, which was a welcoming sight.
Loved that. Yeah, he was getting back on it. It's like they need Onyemata and Jarrett to come correct, and like it was nice to see Rook out there too, playing against the run well. I think they got to get Rook more involved on early downs. I think he's going to be a big part of their run defense going forward. But love to see Jarrett getting in the back. Like they've been playing Jarrett as like a point of attack run defender. It's like that's not his game, man. He's a penetrator, and you saw it. Like you let him go one tech, like 4-3 one tech. Let him split the center and the guard, and he's going to make plays. But if you ask him to like hold the point of attack on a double team, that's not his game. It's never been his game. So, a little bit of interesting scheme there. Yeah.
Anytime I see Rook now, I immediately think of Adnan because I think no one's been more vocal about the Falcons rookie class than Adnan. So like when I saw Rook was active against the Bucs, I was like, Adnan's somewhere right now. Like finally, they're going to get something out of the draft. What's been your reaction to seeing Rook now on the field? Because to me, you've been the most vocal about it.
I mean, I'm really happy to see him, getting his opportunity. I definitely think he should have gotten the opportunity earlier than the Bucks game, because I mean we saw what Contavious Street was giving you, and you know I don't want to hate on Contavious because last year he came in and he did great after that after the trade, but man, like Contavious Street was really giving you nothing so far.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't like my thing is with rookies in general, you there's enough time, enough distance between week 1 and January to where rookies can be actual legitimate playoff contributors for you. Like, it doesn't have to be a case of, all right, this guy is like very raw. Maybe he's not ready right away. If you give them, proper game action, I don't mean like throw them out there in the fire, in most instances. But I mean, you look at the Detroit Lions last year. They had, I think, 3 rookies who were major contributors down the stretch, and I feel like Rook can be a contributor even though he, is coming into the NFL a bit more raw as a pass rusher, especially given the fact that you really need your interior pass rush hasn't been that great. I feel like Rook by the end of the season can be someone whom you look at as, a very reliable player along that defensive line, but that's really not going to happen if you make him inactive week in and week out.
yeah. Exactly. It's like they got to bring him along, especially like you said, like that Contavious Street. Like honestly, a guy that was a key contributor last year, and I want to give him his respect for that because they really needed him when he was available last year. But like right now, it's just like man, he was giving you absolutely nothing the last couple weeks. And I feel the same way about Carter. So I'm glad they're willing to try to do some different things and rotate some guys in because I think they've benefited from that. But all right, we got Ian McCluskey with the $5. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate you. Says 3-0 the division, 4-0 in the NFC, and at the moment a top NFC seed. Great start to the season for the team. Absolutely. This is what we were hoping for. I mean, honestly. Like this team is, this is what we were hoping for. This is the start we were wanting. So, no complaints here from me. Other than like the sweaty first half, like that was way too sweaty. Like I would have preferred better against the Panthers, but ultimately you win by 18 points. So I'm not going to complain, but yeah, that was.
Yeah, I really hate playing the what if game, but man, can you imagine if they beat the Chiefs too? Like everyone would be taking notice right now. This team would be 5-1, and I mean, they had their own like issues in that game, and the missed DPI wasn't helping.
Yeah.
But man, like that's the one thing. But you can't really just like go all season looking back at playing the one what if game. The Steelers one is the only one where I'm like, okay, this one was a deserved loss.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
Offensive line injuries to me came at the worst time because the Chiefs to me have a top 5 defense, and you have a guy like Chris Jones Chris Jones along with Dexter Lawrence is like that tier defensive tackle where you need to get 4 hands on him, otherwise he's just going to abuse your line. And even though they did a good job containing him, I don't know. Once those injuries happened, they were just dialing on Kurt. But obviously we did a show on that. But man, if we talk about Tyler Algier, I feel like Tyler Algier is really like quiet, not even quietly at this point because you see he's getting these carries, but he just looks way more patient as a run this year. He's got better vision. Like we know he's a power guy. And we know he's going to break tackles. Like we've seen him since the moment he stepped on the football field. But something about this year, he's become a real difference maker. And I just think he's that closer. Like we joke a lot of Arthur Smith's things went really wrong. But I remember Arthur Smith said that Tyler Algier is the perfect closer. And I think when you have these tired defenses in the fourth quarter, he's just going to run through contact because he's going to be fresh because he's only going to have 6, 7, 8 carries going to the fourth quarter, and I think you saw today that drive.
Yeah, no, tremendous stuff from Algier. Like I feel like we've always tried to give him respect and like kind of tried to stay out of the whole like, oh, Bijan Algier, what's going on here? Like, why do we have Bijan? All this stuff. Like, no, I think that we just need to accept that they're both really good players and just be happy with that. Like, I don't think
why can't they be the best tandem in the league?
Like why not? Yeah. And it's like if you want to argue about like, oh, was it the right pick to do this or whatever? It's like, oh, like I'm not going to argue about that right now. It's like like if you like that's an off-season discussion, all right? Like it's good to have the options. It's good to play. It's good to have 2 guys that are great. And like Algier was basically free, so it's like that's also a thing. Like 5th round pick running back is basically free. What I'm not really going to have that argument. Like they're both great. They're both playing really well for the Falcons. Algier's clearly growing in confidence, and they're kind of just interchangeable. Obviously, Algiers a different style, and Bijan's a different style, and I think we saw today like what Bijan offers and what Algier offers, and I think that you can build a really deadly run game with the two of them. They just needed to be more diverse with it, and I think they finally started to do that today, not just making Bijan take outside zone carries 15 times a game. It's like that he can do so much more than that. So I'm glad they finally kind of woke up to that today. It's important, but let me keep getting through these donations as we get through this game. I know people want to talk about that fumble call because I want to talk about it. I was incensed about that fumble call. That was horrible call, but we'll get to that in just a second. We got Shay Ellison with their first super chat. Thank you so much, Shay. Appreciate you. With the recent and hopefully continued success, could we be buyers at the trade deadline? I can't stand watching Lorenzo Carter anymore. Maybe the problem they don't have a lot of picks. That's the thing. Like they're already down 2 picks. So I could see them maybe trading like a day 3 pick for like sort of a depth rotational guy or something like that. But I don't think we're going to see like a premium player. I mean, if the Falcons like start like really crushing it, like I think they're doing well right now, but if they start like really crushing it to where we're like, oh, this team is like maybe a Super Bowl contender, then that changes things. Like they may just be like, all right, we need to go in now. Like we don't need to wait. Maybe they're more buyers at that point, but I think they could make a small move right now. I don't think I'm willing to say that they'll make like a big move for an edge rusher or something at this stage.
I don't know who's out there, but the Jaguars in free fall. Ron Nielsen, good buddy. I don't know who's there, but maybe some business could happen. Richie Grant, show him the 2022 tape when he was half decent.
Yep.
I mean,
sparks some moves here.
Justin Simmons left with a hamstring injury, so
never mind.
Yeah.
Apparently
it was precautionary.
Hopefully it'll only maybe limit his practice reps this week, but man, I'm not trying to see Richie Grant anymore.
No.
I know it's a positive show, but good God, please keep Richie Grant out of there.
Yeah, Richie Grant, third safety. Like we need to like keep everybody healthy until DeMarco Hellams gets back, and then maybe we can talk about rotating guys. But that's where we're at right now at safety. But yeah, from what I understand, it was a precautionary holdout for Justin Simmons that they were up 2 scores. They didn't want to bring him back in. So I think that sounds fair to me. We got Adrian Russ with the $2. Says, Kevin, they made your wish come true. A nice, comfortable win. Offense was very consistent. Only thing that was concerning was the defense, particularly Terrell. Cornerback, obviously a tough position, but he's not playing up to his contract. Need more consistency. Yeah, I mean, we do need more consistency from Terrell. And yeah, I mean, the defense was definitely the problem in this game. I feel like the offense outside of the first drive was pretty much like, other than like the red zone, they were still kind of inconsistent in the red zone. Like they were kind of just going up and down the field on the Panthers. So, I think we get 1 or 2 more stops and this is like even more of a blowout. But I mean, ultimately you win by 18 points. I'm not going to throw too many stones, like I threw enough stones at the defense in the first half. And like, that end of half drive by the defense was like probably the worst they've looked all season, honestly. But like, other than that drive, they didn't play that badly. They were getting gashed against the run, but ultimately they did what they needed to do. They did what they needed to do. So not too concerned, but
yeah, I mean the offense, they've scored 30 points back to back. They didn't score 30 points at all last season, like not once. They haven't scored 30 points since that series, the season finale against Tampa a couple of years ago, where it was Desmond Ritter's 4th game of his career in Atlanta. So yeah, think back to that. It's been a while. Yeah, the offense has been clicking, and it's nice that the offense exploded last week via the passing game, and then this week via the run game, because you're showing that you're not one-dimensional. Like you are two-dimensional. Like I said, I would prefer for them to lean on the run, but it is nice to know that when something's not happening in the run game, you can still sort of rely on the veteran savvy of Kirk Cousins as well. And yeah, it was nice. Like every time the offense had the ball, you expected them to go downfield and score. I think the one time when they didn't was, did they have a single punt today?
They had one punt. It was the first drive. Yeah.
The first drive after the 3 and out. They scored on every drive except for the one where they had the fumble and the one where the half ended. The one where the half ended doesn't really matter.
No, it was impressive.
They had to do it. Like, this was the perfect matchup. Like, Carolina is probably the worst team in the league. So after last week, it's just like, all right, they got to start setting a standard, and they did it. And I love the fact that they got the 32 carries between Algier and Robinson, because it's just, dude, they were getting 5 yards handedly. And and if Drake London makes a few more blocks, Bijan probably breaks up a 50-yarder. Like, he just missed a few times. So I think it was just good. Like, you saw against Tampa Bay, the mismatch was throw in the middle of the field. They have Antoine Winfield, Levante David. I think Aegis finally caught up to him. Target Drake London slot, eat up the middle of the field. Today was just pound Carolina into submission. They did it. So, look, man, Zach Robinson, he's starting to put together. I think there's reasons to be optimistic about him.
I do just want to see a little less outside zones. Like, I still think they were very outside zone heavy with Bijan. It definitely worked today. So, I'll just chalk it up as a win, and, Robinson seeing something on the film that where, you could take advantage of the Panthers on the outside, because they did. But yeah, just like, he can run on the inside. Like, he's really good at running on the inside as well through the A gap. Like, give him some of those opportunities.
You know, it's also, I'm a little not frustrated by, but I wish they're a little more proactive. They really have not used Bijan either in the inside or outside as a receiver. Like, I think ever since week 3, where London caught that easy touchdown where Bijan drove in 2 defenders, and then maybe the Steelers game where they kind of only moved the ball because of him. But besides that, I feel like Robinson has just been just a check down guy in the pass game, and a player of his caliber should be doing more. And I know, they're firing all cylinders in the passing game, but I just hope in the coming weeks when they play better teams, say a team like the Vikings, for instance, like, or the Broncos defense, like, you're going to have to utilize all your playmakers, and Bijan's a walking mismatch. So I hope they start at least giving him some opportunities, whether it be on the outside or even on the inside.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, like, that is something I would love to see. And I hope that we do get there. I think that they're working on it. Like, I feel like all the stuff we talk about in the midweek shows they're starting to implement. So I'm pretty happy about that. Where we're starting to move towards that.
Probably means they're watching. Someone's watching.
Yeah, I'm gonna take full advantage. I'm gonna take full credit for this team playing well, not the coaching staff. It's all us.
It's all Dave Bassity.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was Aaron who, when he was on the show, he said that, like, the stuff he's saying as well, like, he's noticing the team, like, taking heed. So it wouldn't shock me if the team was just, like, sort of had some interns. I'm not saying Raheem Morris or Terry Fontenot was watching, like, obviously
directly,
not. But it's like, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, this coaching staff seems like the type to have some interns who are just, like, plugging in, to some of the, like, shows out there. And, welcome.
Yeah,
welcome.
Why not? Welcome to the show. Yeah, appreciate you guys. Shout out to everyone watching. Yeah. Shout out to everyone watching today.
Yeah, please subscribe.
Please subscribe. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We got George Costanza with the $2. Oh, here we go. Some puns. All right. So the Panthers still suck no matter who's at QB? You got to be kidding me. The Falcons were the only ones in Carolina that embodied #keep pounding. With respect to Chuba Hubbard, that dude is a beast. Yeah, he is a beast. Chuba Hubbard's good. I was a big fan of his coming out of the draft. So he's good.
He's trying to run out of Carolina right now.
He's trying to get out of there desperately, that's for sure. I mean, they drafted another running back, so he's probably going to be out of there. George Costanza's got a couple here in a row I'll get to real quick. George says, I'm very pissed off, though, at the end of the game. Here we have a chance to score a fake victory formation touchdown, and we don't do it. I was told that's how classy organizations play the game. Yeah, I know. Missed opportunity there, to really, besmirch this team. No, I'm glad they didn't. Yeah, this is a classy team. So
okay, I will say my one complaint of the fourth quarter, Clark Phillips. Score the touchdown.
Score the touchdown. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay.
Brad, no, thank you. Like, get in there.
I respect it. Yeah, but
he's going to be, highlighted by the coaching staff about, being such a team player and how, this is the right thing to do, and the coaching staff will love it.
It's going to be 3 TDs with like 2 minutes left. You can score it. It's okay. It's okay.
Just score the touchdown.
Yeah.
Just score the touchdown. Do your dance. Hold on to the football. Like, he deserved that score. I don't know. Have some fun.
It was such a great instinctual play too. Like, he read Dawn's eyes, cut in front of the receipt. Like it was like
it's good.
Showing off those ball skills everyone raved about when he came into the league. So, and hopefully it's a big confidence booster for him because he's playing more.
And this isn't even me talking about like from the viewpoint of the team. It's the right play. It increases your win percentage to 100%. But man, just for him personally, like how many more chances are you going to get? He's a young player. First pick 6, like it's a very special moment. You go in there, it's okay. Nobody's going to get mad at you for scoring that touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he definitely could have. I don't think anyone would have faulted him, but he was going for the ultimate like team brownie points, which like I respect it. He's like, oh, the coach gonna love this. Coach gonna love this. I'm getting these easy brownie points. So it's very selfless. Yeah.
By the way, I don't really like bashing commentators anymore, but sheesh, man, is there a cheesier person on the planet than Mark Sanchez? Please.
No, yeah, he leans into it. He leans into it. I mean, that's the only thing you can say. But yeah.
Tough, man. He's the new Schlereth.
Yeah. My goodness. Yeah, it's tough sometimes.
Yeah.
We got Ian McCluskey with the $5 again. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate you. Says, shout out to Charlie Warner for blocking his ass off today in the run game.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah, Charlie. I know we talked about it at the top, but yeah. I don't know why. Like, I mean, they need to use Werner more. Like, he's a good blocker. Like, it's like they're starting to use Pitts better, but it's like part of that is like just don't ask Pitts to take Charlie Warner snaps. Like don't ask Pitts to play the Charlie Warner role. Like you want someone to block like on a key play, like it should be Charlie Warner. I'm just saying, like Pitts is like improving as a blocker, like we're getting there, but he's probably never going to be Charlie Warner as a blocker. Like I mean, it just is what it is. So yeah, shout out to Charlie Warner. He's doing a great job. Love to see it. All right, let's talk. Before we get to more donations, because I know we got a bunch, and I do appreciate you guys for that big time. That fumble call, like, am I missing something here? Like, either it's incomplete, or he's down on the ground when the ball comes out. So I don't know how you possibly call that a fumble, because like the ball like doesn't. Either he's caught the ball and he's down, or it's incomplete because you're saying the ball is bobbling. But instead they like threaded the needle of the terrible call by saying like, well, he was bobbling it the whole time, but he like also just fumbled it when he was going to the ground. So it's a completion and a fumble, even though it didn't start coming out of his hands until he got to the ground. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. That's just a terrible, like, I feel like they had to work overtime to get to that result.
It looked like the ball did start coming out of his hands when it hit the defender's ankle. But I was surprised they called it a fumble because it looked like, even though the ball was coming out of his hands, it looked like he had control as he was down afterwards. So maybe it was like a fumble where he like recovered it himself. But yeah, I didn't really get it either, because I understand the fumble call, but to me it looked like, he fumbled and then he recovered it himself because he was on top of that ball.
Yeah.
But
I don't think there was a clear recovery either to give it to the Panthers. So it's like,
that's what I was wondering too.
Yeah, it's just that was.
Panthers came out with it. Like when the referee came over, it looked like a Panther like stood up with the ball. So I think that's what they were looking at.
Yeah, I feel like that's just a bold move to overturn that call.
If anything, I think that should have been like a fumble Falcons keep possession type play.
Or just call it incomplete. I mean,
also like Ray had the first down. Like, I don't know why he's stretching like on that play either. It kind of seems like an unnecessary risk, but
it does.
He probably lost track of the marker.
Yeah, it does happen.
He's so good on third downs too. Like he's the go-to receiver on third downs. So it's like, dang, what happened?
He's been clutch. Like he has been clutch on those. Like it seemed like he sort of took over that role from Darnell Mooney today a little bit.
Yeah.
Where he just had Kirk Cousins' full trust on those third downs.
Yeah, no, it was nice to see, like, honestly, to see those guys. Like, I do appreciate Ray's contributions. I think he's been a really nice player for this Falcons team. I mean, we've sung his praises before, but I still want to do it some more, because it's like, after Rondale went down, I was like, okay, well, does this team have a number 3 receiver? And I think he's clearly stepped up and has been a plus. He's been a plus as a number 3 receiver. I mean, not a ton of targets, but he makes the most of them. And fights for the first down, gets yards after the catch, creates separation. I mean, maybe not the best blocker. He's a slot receiver. I mean, I don't know how much you're expecting if you're playing, small slot receiver out there in the blocking department. But yeah, I mean, I got nothing bad to say about Ray McLeod. I think he was incorrectly penalized with that fumble today. I think if you're gonna call that a catch, you should call it that he's down. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet. But all right, yeah, Alan, I know you got to take off soon. Anything else you want to let us in on before? Yeah.
Highlight 3 things. First, Zach Harrison, awesome puck. I hope once again just finding ways to contribute. He deserves. I don't know how much playing time he could get, but it would nice to see him get more playing time. I just feel like he finds a way to get in the backfield, whether it's on defense or on special teams. But big kudos to him. You see more blocks these days, so it's cool that the Falcons are getting a 9, albeit it was a punt, not a field goal. I love seeing Darnell Mooney on the catch at the backfield. I know Kirk kind of messed up the throw, but you saw like Pitts kind of set the natural rub, the pin off the slant, and Mooney kind of on like a wheel route out the back.
All alone, man. That should have been a walk.
I know, yeah, should have walked it. But I'm talking about the design, though. I'm like, all right, Zach Robinson.
Yeah.
I like how you utilize this. And I think the last thing I want to mention, which is a huge highlight, they're really starting to zone in on Drake London as like this alpha red zone receiver. Like they're really prioritizing getting the ball there. And he could have had 2 touchdowns, but credit to Mike Jackson, like I had not mentioned before.
Yeah.
But that first touchdown, the way he faked the fade, pivoted, and like shielded JC Horn, and you just saw that throw by Kirk. He put all sorts of mustard on that throw. Like he just yanked it in there, and like it was just so perfectly executed. And I hope they start leaning because to me, like Drake London's a great contested catch receiver, and if they start kind of doing what Tampa does to Mike Evans, as like if we have to throw near the end zone or the goal-to-go situations, we're going to do everything possible to get Drake London the ball. And I think that's a very encouraging sign because he is the number 1 and he's a true go-getter. So I think that's going to improve because I don't think they're that efficient in the red zone so far. We know about the third down walls, but I feel like I don't know what their ranking is. Or Kevin, do you know where they rank to the red zone scoring offense?
I think they're like middle of the pack now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's room for improvement for sure.
Yeah,
and I think,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think seeing what they're doing right now with Drake London in the red zone, I think it could only mean good things going forward.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Alan, appreciate you guys. He's at Alan Strk on the Twitter. He's a contributor over at thefalcoholic.com as well. Alan, thank you so much for joining us. I know you got other stuff to get to, but we appreciate you joining us for the first 45 minutes of tonight's show. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good night, fellas. Enjoy the win.
Yeah, thanks, Alan.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Alan.
All right, let me get to a couple more donations here before we continue the conversation. We got Ian McCluskey with another 5. Thanks, Ian. He says, think it's time to start having Dorless active to help out the interior with the run defense. Dorless was more of a pass rusher in college. I mean, I kind of feel like he's like the opposite of like, kind of the opposite, I guess I would say, of Rook. But like, I mean, I feel like Dorless, like he just isn't going to get any snaps. Like I guess at this point, like I'm kind of just hoping to see more Rook and like more Zach Harrison and less of the other guys. So I'm not really sure where the Dorless snaps come in. He's probably a guy that's going to have to wait a while to play. But yeah, I do like Dorless. I'm interested to see what he can do eventually, but I feel like he's going to be more of a pass rusher for this team. And then we got Noah C with the $5 says, got to meet some of y'all at the game. Oh, sweet. No, I'm glad you got to go to the game. You know who you are. Great seeing Bijan getting involved. That run by Algier was insane, by the way. Yeah, Algier had some great runs in this game. Honestly, it's been nice to see them both be involved and both crush it.
Shout out to the Falcons fans who made the trip. It looked like there was a good chunk of Falcons fans over there, and you heard the ATL chants at the very end of the game. So the takeover was sort of complete. Was definitely, I'm sure, more fun than last year's trip up to Carolina for the Falcons fans who made that one. But yeah, definitely easiest road game in the NFL for the Atlanta Falcons. I think up 85, 3.5 hour drive to Charlotte. Charlotte's a really nice city. I've been there before.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of kind of like a mini Atlanta in a sense. But yeah, definitely shout out to the fan base, and I'm really happy that the Falcons were able to reward you guys with a nice comfortable win. And I feel like we'd be remiss also, we've got to mention AJ Terrell as well. First interception. It's his first interception since 2021, so it's been 3 years, which is it's a long time. But yeah, he picked a hell of a moment for it.
That was a clutch play. Yeah,
Carolina was marching down the field. That was that drive with where Chuba Hubbard was just eating up yardage, and Andy Dalton gets really, really greedy on that play. AJ Terrell undercuts the route, and it was, from there, Falcons go downfield, score, never look back, and it was very comfortable from then on. But yeah, it was really nice to see Terrell sort of bouncing back because I feel like Deontay Johnson was really winning that matchup throughout the entire afternoon, and it was great to see Terrell. Like it's the theme for me with this Falcons defense, right? Playmakers making plays, and it's yet another week where you have one of your premier, stalwart playmakers making a decisive play in the game when the Falcons needed it most. And the defense hasn't been, great this year, but these individual players have made individual plays at the perfect moments. And sometimes it's all it takes in the NFL.
Yeah. No, and I think like a lot of people like I tweeted out like early in the third quarter, like, wow, like I'm really disappointed in how the Falcons defense is playing. And like people like are now, with hindsight saying like, oh, do you feel bad about this take? No. Like I think people forgot, like, before AJ picked that off, the Panthers were marching down to potentially take the lead in the third quarter. So
well,
like
they were down 8.
Yeah, that's right. They were down 8 at the time. Yeah. Sorry, for some reason I thought it was 25-20. That was a different part of the game. But they were marching down to potentially tie the game. And like if Terrell doesn't get that pick, I'm not sure they stop them. So like great play by Terrell. Like, don't get me wrong, like they definitely did what they needed to do. They did come together, but like I'm still not happy with the defense in this game. Like the Falcons defense for the better part of 3 quarters was kind of getting the business from the Panthers. And like, let's get this straight. Like, the Panthers defense is the worst in the NFL. Their offense with Andy Dalton is not the worst in the NFL. They're a functional offense, but like I expect them to do better against a team like this. Like, especially down 2 starting offensive linemen. Like, I don't feel bad about my take that the defense was disappointing. Like, the defense was having a sorry game. Like, they kind of did. And like, credit to Terrell, because I think that was the turning point of the entire game. When he picked that pass off, that took the air out of the Panthers completely. And like, did you get the feeling like before that play, like Andy Dalton was kind of like he was like smiling and like just joking around, like kind of just like felt like he was punk. Yeah, like he was like, oh, we're gonna punk this team. Like, I have no cares in the world. Throws that terrible pick. Like, he has no business throwing that. That was terrible. And then throws another pick to Clark Phillips, which was a great play. But it's like, man, like I overconfidence from a guy who's 1-4. I mean, it's weird.
I'm fully with you, but also it's like, you do not want to see the opposing quarterback like that, like in that sort of mindset when you are, a fan of an NFL team, because, obviously you want the opposing quarterback to look nervous, to look a bit rattled. And yeah, Andy Dalton wasn't, like, not even a little bit. Like, he was out there, like you said, he was, after he got out of that Lorenzo Carter, like, sack, it felt like, he was just, he was smiling out there. He was like having fun. And I mean, I guess part of that is I think they were talking about it on the broadcast, Dalton talking about how you just never know how many more opportunities you have. So he is a veteran. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, the game was not put away at that point. The game was still very much in the air. And 1 possession game, Carolina was at the very least going to be in field goal range like very soon. And yeah, I think if Terrell doesn't make that interception, I think they end that drive with a touchdown. I mean, you never know what could happen.
No, I mean, who knows? But they were driving. Yeah.
Yeah. That play was the full turning point, because the Panthers, their playmakers on offense were also playing very well. Chuba Hubbard was killing it. Deontay Johnson, man, I really like Deontay Johnson. I was really hoping the Falcons were going to make a move for him when it was announced that the Steelers were making him available. But yeah, that's one of the best route runners in the NFL. Yeah, he was giving Terrell the business throughout most of the game. He beat him for that touchdown. On that, like, first scoring drive, he had 3 catches, like 3 long catches, including the touchdown. But yeah, the Terrell bounces back, and yeah, from there, after the Falcons go up by 2 scores, the Panthers don't really have the offense. They don't really have the horses to make that sort of comeback. And you could sort of see it where the defense after that got a bit more comfortable, and the clock in Dalton's head started to get a bit faster, and then he makes a mistake to Clark Phillips. But yeah, this game was closer than the scoreline indicates for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, that to me was like the story of this game. Is like the offense I think was actually like we've kind of come full circle, and the offense I think is definitely pulling their weight now outside of a few red zone struggles. The defense is now starting to let up plays, and I think this was definitely as close to a full team game as we've seen so far. But this is the Panthers. Like, you're not going to necessarily have as many chances to get right as you do against the Panthers in this one. You're going to come up against teams that don't have defenses this poor. I mean, this was definitely the worst defense the Falcons have played all year, and they took advantage. I mean, they did, so that's nice to see. But yeah,
and I mean, honestly, the Falcons right now, I know they got some pressures. 6 games, 5 sacks this season. That's tumultuous.
That's the most expected stat line of the season. I was like, well, they got Judon, but I mean, they're gonna have to figure something out.
And Raheem Morris, like, I think he was asked about it in the press conference. He said, like, we'll figure it out, like, with the pass rush. But yeah, like, you can get away with it against the Panthers. You can get away with it against some of these like worse teams. But when you really start playing some of these elites, you cannot get away with not finishing those plays, with not getting the quarterback on the ground. I'm not just saying pressure him. I mean, you have to have some plays where you get a defensive stop by putting the quarterback on the ground.
Yeah.
And it didn't really look like there was a play in this game where the Falcons really came, other than the Lorenzo Carter play.
I was about to say,
Falcons never really
had him dead to rights.
Andy Dalton.
Oh man, yeah, they got pressure. I mean, Andy Dalton did a good job of getting rid of the ball. I mean, they definitely got pressure on him several times. But yeah, outside of the infamous Lorenzo Carter play where it's like, I can't believe you don't get that sack. That is ridiculous. And that ties into George Costanza's donation. I'm doing this in all caps because I need you to say it with enthusiasm and passion. Why is Lorenzo Carter still on the field? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he offers you anything that D'Angelo Malone doesn't. I'd rather see D'Angelo Malone, personally. And like they actually did the right thing and started James Smith-Williams. And James Smith-Williams had like a tackle for loss on the first drive. It was great. And then it's like we never saw James Smith-Williams again. It's like I don't know what the rotation is. It's weird.
It actually made me laugh. Kendall, Project T-Jax, great Twitter follow. Like, he posted up a picture of Lorenzo Carter smiling after the game. He said, "Please tell me what this Joker is smiling about."
Yeah, no, Kenny's got the going. He's like, oh, good. His number 0 represents the number of plays he's made this year or something like that. Kenny's brutal out there on the Twitters. But yeah, I don't think he can be part of the rotation at this point. He offers nothing. He's not making tackles. He's not getting pressure. He's not getting sacks. Like,
I kept trying to bring it up like all training camp. Like, the edge guys did not look good. Like, it's camp. Camp is designed for everyone to look good. Like, it is designed for, everyone to be propped up a little bit. And if you have a rough training camp, then it's really going to be a rough year. But yeah, the edge guys were just not getting home at all. Like, I was talking about it like throughout our training camp videos, like day after day. And yeah, they like got a little bit of a fix with Matthew Judon, but that's not enough. Like, that was never going to be enough, where you can't really expect Judon to put this pass rush on his back and just like carry it into like relevancy. You need more guys to step up. Like, I don't know if anyone will be able to just straight up like carry this pass rush into even mediocrity. Like, maybe TJ Watt.
Yeah, I'm sure TJ Watt. Yes. I think TJ Watt could. Yeah. Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Max Crosby. Those are probably the only guys, though. Yeah.
Yeah, no offense to Judon, but he's not really on, that sort of level right now. It's not like his fault, but yeah, we need at least another person to like step up. Like, people were thinking maybe it was going to be a Katie, maybe Carter, but right now it's just it hasn't happened so far.
Yeah, I think they're wanting Caden Ellis to play more there. I think and like Ebiketie, I think has been okay like that, but he hasn't taken the step we wanted. I think he's been okay. But
Corey Carter, Nick Bosa as well. Like, Nick
Bosa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would add him
Like
to that list.
the like big three, the like
Yeah.
those
Max
guys.
Crosby, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, probably the ones that could save this pass rush. But we need the interior guys to do it too. Like that
Yeah.
was always the plan, was like, we're gonna lean on our interior to collapse the pocket. And that hasn't really materialized yet. They've been getting some pressure, but sacks have not come, so they're gonna have to do that. And like
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's a full like thing too, right? It's not
Yeah.
just like the snack. Like I know Joe's been saying it in the chat as well. Of you have to also get the offenses in those third and long situations. You have to stop the run, give
Yep.
yourself those opportunities. So it's not you need the coverage to get a sack. It's not just like one player. It's not just like one individual guy, but the most important guy is the guy who actually like gets the sack. So you need guys to finish their plays as well. But yeah, it hasn't been good so far. 5 sacks in 6 games. It's last year this team manufactured sacks somehow.
Yeah.
Nobody was really like a superstar on the defense, but they still got to 40 for the first time since '04. But man, like right now, it's rough. It's looking like those Falcons teams that had like 17 sacks in a season.
Yeah.
17
We're gonna
sacks.
have to see it. Yeah, we're gonna have to see it. It's not materialized yet. But yeah, they need the interior to step up. They need the run defense to step up. I think you could tell Landman was a little rusty. He hasn't played since week 1. But it was nice to have him back out there. But I think ultimately they want Troy and Landman back there with Ellis playing more edge. And I hope that if they get to do that, that will help this defense a lot. Like they'll get more pass rush from Ellis and they'll get the coverage from Anderson that Landman just doesn't have. And Landman will be able to fill the run, which is what Anderson has kind of been spotty on, even though he's getting a little bit better there. So maybe this week against Seattle, this is when they'll be able to deploy that package for the first time since week 1. Because that package worked really well against the Steelers. I mean, like, they shut the Steelers' run game down. That was the last time they shut a run game down, basically. But, yeah, I mean, I hope we get to see it because, I mean, they're going to need this Seahawks team. This is a legit offense.
Kenneth Walker is hooping right now. Since he came back from injury, Kenneth Walker is one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL. It's not really a name that you talk about when you're talking about the like elite guys, but he just sort of gets it done. His big issue has been injuries, but when he's not injured, he just goes out there and gets the job done. And yeah, you really want to sort of try to contain him and try to get home on Geno Smith, force Geno Smith to beat you a little bit because Geno looked really rough against the 49ers.
Yeah.
And Geno hasn't looked, amazing in the last 3 games. Like I mentioned it on the Wednesday show. Seattle, yeah, they started off 3-0. I call the teams that they beat frauds. And the teams they beat were the Broncos, the Patriots, and the Dolphins without Tua. Like it doesn't really get much easier than that when you talk about like a schedule to start the season. But yeah, since then they've come crashing back down to earth. They're at 3-3 right now.
Yeah, so I mean that their Achilles heel is their offensive line, but the Falcons haven't really been able to take advantage of that so far. So they're going to need to get pressure on Geno if they want to shut that Seahawks team down. But hopefully, if they get Anderson back, that'll help in that regard, and they'll be able to play the linebacker setup they want. But yeah, it's looking. We'll save that for next week. Got a lot of time to talk about this Seahawks matchup, but not looking as terrifying as it was like a couple weeks into the season. Yeah.
I'll be very interested in seeing the injury report because I kind of feel like that injury to Anderson is more serious than they're letting on. Because Raheem Morris said day to day, he's already missed the next 2 weeks. And, even after 10 days off, he didn't practice at all last week. So, I mean, they didn't put him on IR, which is a good sign that he'll probably be back before 4 games. But it also wouldn't shock me if this team sort of bungled that a little bit and, he does end up missing the requisite games for an IR stint. But, we'll see. But hopefully Troy Anderson is back ASAP.
Yeah, we're hoping for that for sure. We got one last donation from Corey with the $2 saying, if you're questioning whether Drake is tough, just look at the opening drive of the second half. Kirk threw high, left him exposed. He went up and got it even after coming off that rib injury. Yeah, no, Drake London's toughness is a big part of his game, and he definitely showed it tonight. Took that slant in the end zone. He knew he was going to get clobbered. Hold on to that ball. Great job. I have nothing bad to honestly. I have nothing bad to say about the receivers at all. I mean, Kyle Pitts, like that was, you know, I need you to not quit on that route. I don't really know what happened there. I mean,
Mark Sanchez called him out there, and I mean,
yeah,
honestly, kind of deservedly so
yeah.
because it's.
I mean, I
You're
don't know if
doing
it was an option or what, but like,
I don't think it was
I don't
because
think so either. Yeah,
Kirk was throwing the ball to the back pylon, and you're sort of leaving your quarterback out to dry there because I think it was J.C. Horn on the coverage there. If he's in better position, that's an interception. Like you have to fight for even if you don't get that ball, you have to fight for it, if for no reason other than to ensure that it'll be a completion at worst, an incompletion at worst.
yeah. So I mean, I didn't love that. I mean, I think we don't know for sure, but yeah, it sure seemed to me like Pitts was not expecting the ball there. Like he turned to look at the quarterback, like he was like there was something else that he was waiting to see or something. But I think, yeah, I don't think he was going to catch anything no matter what. I mean, yeah, I mean Joe's saying yeah, the best outcome was probably DPI, but yeah, I think if he runs through that contact, maybe he draws the DPI. But not a great look, but this wasn't really a Pitts game. That the Falcons were getting so much on the ground and like the receivers were coming open. They had that nice catch early, nice run after catch too. So
yeah, that looked like vintage Pitts on that play where it was catch. I think he broke a tackle. Got a large gain. I think Bijan ended up scoring after that. And yeah, shout out to the Falcons for getting some punching the ball in a few times with the run. I think they've had. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they had one rushing touchdown all year coming into this week.
I know Bijan only had one. Yeah, I don't know if they had any others.
Bijan had one. I don't think Algier had one, free this week. We know Kirk Cousins didn't have one. They're not sneaking with him. But yeah, it's also I was looking, I think the Falcons before this week literally had two different series where they snapped the ball from inside the opponent's 5 all season long. Yeah. One was the Bijan touchdown against the Chiefs from the 1, and the other one was the series right before the half against the Eagles, where they ended up settling for the field goal. But yeah, it's just sort of been unlucky for the running backs as well, in terms of Falcons just haven't had many plays inside the 5. All their touchdowns have been of the longer variety, which has been kind of like unique.
Yeah, it is. It's been interesting to see that, and I think people were freaking out about the Falcons, like oh, Bijan's not getting fantasy points. I think it was just kind of bad luck.
It was definitely bad luck. It was like super bad. I know because I've had, hand over heart, I have Bijan Robinson in fantasy, and yeah, I've been like looking at like everything around that, and it's like it's just been really unlucky. The Falcons just haven't run any like plays from like around the goal line like at all. But today they have, and I mean Bijan punched it in twice. Algier, I'm really really happy Algier punched it in because he carried that drive, and I was just like, are you really gonna do that? Where they lined up in the shotgun and threw it to Darnell Mooney? Yeah. I really hate when quarterbacks do that because it's like first and goal at the 1, you line up in the shotgun, like the running back is like brought you all the way there, like at least give them one opportunity to punch it in before you start coming out in the shotgun.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, come on. Like, I mean, I was personally of the mind, like, just run it 4 times. If you run it 4 times from the 2 and you can't score, like, you don't deserve a touchdown. So, and it's not like the Panthers were stopping the run. So
I feel like that was one of those like stat pad type plays where it's like, okay, like we're gonna get Kirk a touchdown here. Peyton Manning used to be the worst at that. Like Peyton Manning during those Broncos days before he really like fell off a cliff, he would come up like Noshawn Marino would get to the 1, first and goal at the 1. Peyton Manning is like throwing the ball to Wes Welker or something. It's like reward him.
Come on, buddy. Yeah.
It ended up being like it's just semantics, but it's just I don't know. It's just like personal preference at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree. You got to reward your running backs if they're the ones that get you down there. So,
but also it sort of like minimizes. It also does make sense. It does minimize risk too. Like not putting the ball in the air from the one. Like anything can happen at that point.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So I agree there. All right, we got one last one from George saying, we got any interest in doing a Falcoholic cruise? I've got a bunch of cruises I'm doing next year and in 2026. There's a cheap one from Cabo to LA, infinite alcohol included. Lots of beer, Kevin. Lots of beer. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Let's talk about it, George. I like cruising. I know you guys probably like cruising, so we'll have to see how it goes. But
I don't drink, so the alcohol is
that
not
doesn't
really.
sell Adnan on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does not sell me at all, George.
Maybe like the
apologize.
beaches or like the surf or something else we could pitch Adnan on. But yeah, the infinite alcohol doesn't appeal to Adnan. But they probably have infinite juice too. I don't know if they have what you like, but yeah, that might not be like a big deal. That's probably not as big of a selling point. But yeah, no, it could be fun, George. Well, we could look into it. But yeah, good game. Despite it, I hate to say this was like a comfortable win. It was like, and like I'm happy that it was.
It was in the end.
It was in the end. The fourth quarter was like, okay, we're all right. But like the first three quarters were unnecessarily sweaty. So I don't love that. But I do love, I asked for a 2-score win. We got a 2-score win.
It could have been a 3-score win.
It could have been.
But,
is it?
But
oh,
no,
it's 18
it
points.
should have been. It should have been. Clark Phillips scored. It should have been. But yeah, I wasn't really going to be mad at them as long as they won. Even if it was a 1-score game, like even if Dalton does like score, or Dalton, yeah, it could have been Dalton. It could have been Chuba. It could have been like whoever. But like even if they go downfield and like score on that AJ Terrell pick drive, as long as the Falcons like came away with a win, I would have just like shrugged my shoulders and been like, okay, you know what? Road division game, anything can happen. You are coming off of 2 really highly emotional wins at home against the Saints and Bucks. I'm just glad that they didn't sort of drop the ball this week, because it felt like it could have been a premier trap game for Falcons teams of the past few years. That was like a trap game. That was the trap game of trap games. In Carolina, the Panthers are lowly 1-4, worst net point rating in the NFL by far. That out here like pounding their chest a little bit, and I feel like we've just gotten so conditioned to having letdowns at this point, where I was like, you know what, even if it's a 1-score win, even if you win by field goal, just go out there, just come out of Carolina at 4-2 and with no injuries. And, checkbox 1, checkbox 2, 4-2, 4-0 in the conference. You went through this NFC South gauntlet at 3-0. You will not be swept by anyone in this division. You will at worst be 3-3 in this division. That's a huge win. And yeah, the NFC, man, like NFC is kind of open right now. I'm not discounting the 49ers. I'm not discounting the Lions, but even the Lions, like Aiden Hutchinson, I think broke his tibia today. Like he had a really gruesome injury. So, I mean, the Lions also like absolutely ransacked the Cowboys. But that Cowboys game, that Cowboys game on the schedule isn't looking as scary as it was before the season started. That's for sure.
Yeah, that one's looking much more manageable. But I think ultimately you're happy with the win. It is like they ultimately win this one handily. It was nice to see them actually beat a team handily. They haven't done it yet, this team. But glad to see that. It was a little too sweaty early, but they do come together and get it done. Offense plays great. The running game takes a big step. That was nice to see. And like honestly, the Panthers defense, like if you just look at how many gross rushing yards they gave up, it's like, oh, they're the worst run defense. They're not. Like if you look at their yards per carry, the Panthers defense was like 10th or 11th in yards per carry allowed. So like they were not a terrible run defense, but Falcons ran all over them today. Good on them. The Panthers I think they've faced like the most carries of any team, obviously, because they're getting blown out most weeks. But yeah, so good job by the offense. The defense, the defense finished really strong. Like getting those, like AJ Terrell, like deserves all the props. He was having a rough game, doesn't get phased, is right there to make that pick, and that pick was absolutely the turning point of the game. After that pick, the Panthers were just like, okay, we're done. Like, yep, gets the pick, Falcons score off it, game over. So
I mean, this team has. That was the topic of the show on Wednesday. They have a chance to earn some trust.
Yeah,
they've earned some trust. Like over the past 3 weeks, We were sitting there 1-2 after midnight on that Monday night after the Chiefs lost. It was it was Sunday night into Monday morning
Yeah.
technically. But yeah, after the Chiefs lost, and we were like, okay, you know what? You can go 1-2, and it was a 1-2 that was better than we expected. They beat the Eagles,
Yep.
but you cannot lose to your divisional opponents.
Yep.
Like 1-2 is fine as long as you beat your divisional opponents, and I think that's exactly what they did. Beat the Saints, beat the Bucks, came from behind against the Bucks. I think they had a 96% chance of losing. I think I saw a stat. The Falcons have had the two most improbable wins in the NFL this year going
Yep.
into this week. And I think coming out of this week as well, because I don't think anyone has matched those heroics yet. The Panthers win, I think, is like this win in the way it happened is almost as impressive as the other two.
Yeah.
Just because, it was completely laid out as a trap game. You're 4-2. I think right now you and I have been spot on with our preseason predictions of
Yeah.
we thought they would be 4-2 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, I thought they would have beaten the Steelers.
Yeah,
They beat the Eagles instead, which you take a trade off,
absolutely.
very great trade off. And I think I had them beating the Seahawks as well, but I'm not entirely sure. I would probably have to go back and watch those shows. But yeah, let's go out there. Let's kick the Seahawks in the ass. Like let's add to their misery and let's go 5-2. Like, do you know how good it would feel if this team was 5-2? Sheesh.
It would feel great. I'm all in. Yeah, no, this game to me was like, if I'm gonna buy in and like trust this team is gonna be legit and not, they can't blow a game to the Panthers. Like, we can't have that. Otherwise, I don't believe anything that we've seen so far. They did not blow a game to the Panthers. They win by 18. They've earned our trust. So I'll try to be a little more positive. I'll try to be a little more positive and less panicky going forward watching this team. I think they have earned a little bit of trust, which is nice to see. We haven't had that in a while. So
I mean, you have a chance. The Bucks won again this week, state of the NFC South. The Saints seem to be falling behind at this point. They're now 2-4. That game was just wacky.
That was a crazy game.
that was just
wild.
Wacky.
Yeah.
That was just like a pure NFC South like shithousery.
Yeah.
The Saints kind of like went down early, came back. The Bucks ended up, having more quality, winning. But yeah, the Bucks are 4-2 now. You're still fighting with them. You have crucial game against them in a couple weeks because if you win that, you have the tiebreaker over them no matter what.
Yep.
But the Bucks next week, they play the Baltimore Ravens, and it's on a Monday night, and they're going to
play the Chiefs. Yeah.
Yeah, and they play the Chiefs after the Falcons for sure. But Monday Night Football against Baltimore, the Ravens are a really physical football team.
Yep.
And Bucks will have one less day to rest after that, so it could be in the Falcons' favor. Just looking at the logistics of it, but yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But another week, you're atop the NFC South due to tiebreakers. Looks like it may be another 2-horse race this season as well.
Yeah, the Falcons definitely looking much more inspiring than they were at any point last year. So glad to see that. But yeah, Adnan, thank you so much for coming on and breaking this down with me. Thanks to Alan as well. I know he had a previous arrangement, so I'm happy that we had him for the time that we did. Yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us for the Falcons vs. Panthers Week 6 postgame show. I think this team is a different team than the last 3 years. I think we can say that now. Now we need to see just how different they are. Are they just a little bit better, or are they significantly better? That's what we're going to wait to see now. They're definitely better. They're an NFC South contender, maybe even an NFC contender, given what Adnan was saying. This is a kind of a more open NFC than we were expecting, so we'll see. I think the Saints might just kind of go down here with Rattler. I mean, Rattler was okay, but
they're going to be without
really bad
Olave
picks.
Yeah, they'll be without Olave on Thursday. I mean, maybe, but it's really hard to clear concussion protocol, in only 4 days.
Yeah,
it's the Broncos on Thursday. Sean Payton revenge match. But
is it in Denver or is it in New Orleans?
Let me check that right now.
Yeah, because if it's in Denver, they're probably losing that game. It's hard to beat Denver in Denver.
It's in New Orleans. In New Orleans, fortunately for them.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, the Saints too, they're looking at this stretch in their schedule as like their opportunity to get right because get the Broncos, Chargers, and then I think they get the Panthers.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're also going to be looking at this as an opportunity to claw back before they face the Falcons in New Orleans on November 10th. But yeah, go Broncos. Definitely go Broncos. On that
Go
one.
Broncos.
Can't stand Sean Payton, but I'll be rooting for him in that one.
Yeah. Whoa, it just got really dark here. But yeah. All right. Apparently that's my cue. But yeah, thanks guys for watching us today. Appreciate everyone for hanging out on tonight's show. We will be back next week. I'm not sure if we'll either do Wednesday night or we'll do another Tuesday takes with Trayshawn. It depends on when I'm able to get back home from my traveling. But then we'll have a game preview for you, and of course we'll have a post game show breaking down the Falcons versus Seahawks next week. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks again to BetOnline for sponsoring tonight's episode. Please like, subscribe, check out the Patreon, check out the channel memberships here on YouTube if you want to support the show. We appreciate everyone who's doing that. Check out the community Discord server. Check out the Falcoholic.com for that tremendous written content. Check out Adnan at Say Which Way on the Twitters. Check me out, Falcoholic Kevin. And we'll be back with plenty more sweet winning Falcons content over the next week here. So we'll see you guys next time. Have a great night, folks. Thanks.